Will be a busy week for trade and trade negotiators. U.S. Trade Ambassador Robert Lighthizer and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin traveling to China in an attempt to bring the trade dispute between the two countries to an end. It comes as CNBC reports Clete Willems, the Deputy Director of the National Economic Council, who has served as the lead trade negotiator for the U.S. at multilateral summits like the G7 and G20, and has been active in talks with China, is set to leave the White House soon. On Tuesday, President Trump will begin the process of lining up votes for a new free trade agreement known as USMCA, or the U.S.-Mexican-Canadian Agreement, the replacement for a 25-year-old North American free trade agreement. Now, leaders of all three countries have signed that new pact, but now Congress will need to ratify it this year. Trump inviting Republican congressional members to the White House to begin securing votes for passage. Well, the impact of the agricultural sector on the general economy forecast at 20%. Nationwide economic impact study found that more than 1/4 of all American jobs are connected, either directly or indirectly, to the food and ag industry. Now, this research, commissioned by a group of 23 food and ag organizations, found that 45.5 million total jobs are tied to the industry. In addition, ag supports more than $2 trillion in wages, pays $193 billion in taxes, and exports $154 billion annually. Now, to measure the total impact of the sectors, the analysis also includes indirect and induced economic activity surrounding the industry, and it captures upstream, downstream activity. You can read the full report online at feedingtheeconomy.com, feedingtheeconomy.com. And thousands of communities throughout the United States could soon see an influx of capital and investment thanks to a new federal tax incentive program included in the 2017 tax reform law. Opportunity Zones initiative targeting more than 8,700 communities, vast majority of which are low income and are in all 50 states, plus the District of Columbia and the 5 U.S. territories. Thinking behind the program is to drive investment capital into communities that need it by allowing taxpayers to invest capital gains into qualified opportunity funds. And by making the investment, taxpayer able to defer capital gains tax through 2026 or whenever the investment in the opportunity fund is sold or exchanged, whichever comes first. Now, if the investment's held for longer than 5 years, taxpayers realize a 10% exclusion of their deferred gain. If it's held for more than 7, there's an additional 5% that's excluded. In addition, assuming the investment is held 10 years, any additional gain that the taxpayer realizes on the investment itself is not taxed. It's a great idea for bringing money back into rural communities. And with another Ag News update, I'm Tony St. James.